What sort of president would she be?
Oh, she'd be really good. She's the ablest public servant I ever worked with. It's a decision that only she can make, and I'm not gonna try to jump the gun. And if she decides not to do it, I'll be happy to. When I left the White House and Hillary went into the Senate in New York, I told her, I said, for 26 years, you made a lot of sacrifices for my public life. So I'll give you the next 26 years. And if I'm still around, then we'll fight about what we're going to do after that. So we're just a little over halfway through the second 26 years. And whatever she wants is fine with me.
Former President Bill Clinton has become the voice of quiet reason with regard to the drumbeat for wife Hillary to run for the presidency in 2016. And as a survivor of the political fray, he is indeed right to point out that any candidate needs time to craft a message and convince voters they are the right person for the job. However, there are those who feel that already the message from Mrs. Clinton has been tainted too severely to allow for damage control. So let's get to the meat of the matter, shall we? Welcome back to MidPoint, author of The War on Millennials, airing grievances and offering solutions through the eyes of America's next generation of leaders, former spokesman for President George H.W. Bush and senior project manager for Hathaway Strategies, Pete Seat joins us on the show. Pete, good to see you again.
It's good to see you, Ed. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure, Pete. Now, the whole thing here is about Hillary becoming more authentic to appeal to voters. All right, what exactly does that mean?
Well, authenticity sells both in life and in politics. And when Hillary Clinton made those comments that she and President Clinton were, quote, dead broke, in her words, upon leaving the White House, she made a disingenuous attempt to, quote, be one of us. She was trying to connect with the American who lost a job and had to file for bankruptcy, or the student who is suffering from massive student loan debt, when in reality, she needs to just own it. She needs to own her impressive resume. You may not agree with what she did in those positions, but own the fact that she was Secretary of State and a U.S. Senator and a lawyer and a best-selling author and now a well-compensated speaker on the lecture circuit.
Pete, you just hit on something I think that's fascinating, and I've thought about this for a long time here. The American voters sometimes, I believe, want somebody who is a leader, and they don't really care about the empathy. I think, and you tell me if you get this as well, that too many politicians always try to say, I empathize with you. I've been in your shoes. I've done this. Sure, that sounds good at the moment, but it never really comes to fruition. It is usually always proven that they really don't know what happens in those shoes. And is it fair to say that Americans right now are saying, look, just give us some leadership at this point. I don't care if you've been here. Lead, damn it.
I completely agree with you, Ed. As Bill Clinton used to say, I feel your pain. That's one of the oft-mocked phrases that he used on the campaign trail and while he was president. I phrase it in my book, The War on Millennials, as the battle between the who and the what. And Hillary Clinton is trying to be a who. She wants to be elected, if she decides to run, for being Hillary Clinton and not much else. But I think more and more Americans are craving the what. They're craving solutions to our problems, and I've yet to hear Hillary offer a single one.
But is it not fair to say what President Clinton just said? It takes time to craft a message. We're sitting here right now in July of 2014. We haven't hit the midterms yet. We've got a long way to go here. Isn't it fair to say, though, that whatever misstep she's made, whether it's we're dead broke or anything else, or more serious issues as well, that come a campaign, things have a tendency to get lost in the shuffle?
Sure, there's a lot of time between now and then, again, if she chooses to run, but Americans are going to make their impressions. They've made their impressions about her in some respects. She's been on the public stage for decades, ever since the mid-'70s when Bill Clinton was first elected Attorney General. Since that moment in time, she's not been a normal person, so her attempts to try and be a normal person will not resonate with the American populace.
The interesting thing I saw recently, and there was an article in The Hill that talked about something else that even I and many other people who talk politics from time to time have been thinking about. They called it the GOP's 2016 Hillary paradox, and I think it's very well put. Don't the Republicans, in essence, need Hillary Clinton to be the one who runs from the Democratic side? Because if you get someone that powerful, it will generate a greater passion from the base of the GOP. If it's an Elizabeth Warren or somebody else, you may not have that sort of passion to fight there is, but doesn't having a Clinton on the other side really get them just stoked up to fight another Clinton?
Sure, you're going to have the base stoked up. You're going to have a lot of folks going to the polls. But even with Elizabeth Warren, I don't buy into the Elizabeth Warren love fest that's going on right now. It reminds me a lot of Howard Dean in 2004, and the old line there was Democrats like the idea of dating Howard Dean, but they didn't want to marry him, as in choose him as their nominee. Hillary will more than likely, if she decides to run, be the nominee, but remember just how inevitable she was in 2008. They're claiming that she's inevitable again here in 2016. Anything can happen. Anything
can happen. It is fair to point out, though, that her polling right now, her lead in polling is a lot larger than it was in 2008, because as I look at some of the numbers, she's regularly right around 60% in the polls, sometimes even hits 70% in Iowa, where she lost to Obama in 2008. She's now much stronger. So are we sort of getting ahead of ourselves a little bit here and saying that maybe she needs time? She's pretty strong the way it stands right now when you look at the core, isn't she?
Sure, but when Bill Clinton first ran in 1992, he was an asterisk in the polls before ultimately being nominated. I think, however, those numbers you pointed out, Ed, show something very important, and that is the Democrats don't have a bench. It really is Hillary or no one. You know, there's talk of Martin O'Malley, the governor of Maryland, and others here and there. Elizabeth Warren obviously getting most of the chatter, sometimes even Joe Biden getting thrown into the mix. But Democrats are putting their eggs in this Hillary Clinton basket. And I think over the last several weeks, Americans have been turned off by what they've heard from her.
I think it's fair to say that if you look at some of the book performances and some of the other things as well, you just indeed may be right. Speaking of books, I want to remind everybody that Pete's seat is The War on Millennials, airing grievances and offering solutions through the eyes of America's next generation of leaders. The generation of leaders we are always asking questions about these days, it is fair to say. Pete, thank you so much for being here today, my friend. We'll do it again soon.
Thanks for having me, Ed.
All right. It is... when you look at the numbers, there are those who say that Hillary Clinton's weaknesses are greatly exaggerated. We got a lot of time to go. On our return, the anniversary we forget every year, and what it should be telling us now more than ever about America being a leader on the global stage. Think back to what the date was on Sunday and see if you remember what that anniversary was when we return on MidPoint.